I've been a devoted partner and father. She begged me not to let the results of the paternity test tear apart our family and insisted we could get past this. I left the house that evening, ignoring her frantic calls and messages. At first, I didn't want to tell anyone about what had happened, but as my frustration grew, I decided to reveal the truth. I confided in my family and close friends, and soon the news spread like wildfire. The fallout was harsh. Her parents were enraged and declared they wanted nothing to do with her anymore, cutting off all contact. My sister Emma called her up and unleashed a furious tirade. On the other side, her siblings accused me of embarrassing her and insisted I should have kept this private. Yesterday, her sister Rachel called me again, demanding I take Olivia back and reunite for the sake of our child, Luke. I told her I didn't have a son. That set her off. She began insulting me, calling me weak and pathetic, and accusing me of being insecure for secretly taking the paternity test. She even blamed me for abandoning my son just because we didn't share the same blood. I ended the call and immediately reached out to her husband. I told him everything about Rachel's behavior and jokingly suggested he might want to consider a paternity test as well, since infidelity seemed to run in the family. He apologized on her behalf, and we ended the call on somewhat civil terms. Now I've been ignoring all calls from Olivia and Rachel. I'm moving forward with the divorce and cutting all ties with everyone involved in this mess. Am I the one at fault? I was stunned by the overwhelming response to my post. Thousands of comments and countless direct messages. When I checked yesterday, I couldn't believe how many people reached out. I truly appreciate everyone who took the time to offer support. While I couldn't go through all the comments, I did read as many as I could. For those who've asked if I'm okay, I'm not, but I will survive. Some have called me a misogynist or suggested I deserve to be betrayed. I find this outrageous. If your spouse confessed to fathering a child with someone else, wouldn't you be furious? This isn't about gender. It's about betrayal. I decided to take the paternity test because my sister Emma urged me to. She'd mentioned it a few times, but I dismissed it because I never suspected Olivia of cheating, let alone having a child with another man. Emma, who's always had my back, pointed out that Luke didn't resemble me at all. I argued that he looked like Olivia, but she kept pushing me to take the test. I'm thankful she did.
When the truth came out, Emma was heartbroken for me. She held me while I cried for hours, comforting me through the pain. I loved Luke deeply, but the knowledge that he wasn't my biological son only made the betrayal worse. He constantly reminded me of Olivia's actions. After reading some comments about how Luke is an innocent victim in all this, I decided not to cut him off completely, at least not right away. I realized it could harm him emotionally if I vanished from his life entirely. I called Olivia, and she answered immediately. I told her I was coming over to see Luke, and she burst into tears, relieved that I still wanted to visit. I asked if Rachel was still there, and when Olivia confirmed she was, I told her to ensure her sister didn't speak to me, or I would lose my temper. When I arrived, Luke ran up to me and hugged me tightly. He asked where I'd been, and I told him I'd been busy with work. I spent an hour playing with him, then gently explained that I wouldn't be around as much, but I would still visit and stay in touch. He was upset, so I promised I'd plan something special for his birthday in December. I'm not sure what yet, but I'll figure it out. After Luke went outside to play, Olivia tried to talk to me. She hugged me, crying, and begged me not to leave her or give up on our son because of a mistake. She said she had considered abortion, but couldn't go through with it because I was so happy. She swore she had been loyal ever since. Her words only enraged me further. I grabbed her arm and yelled that she had destroyed me and our son's future. I told her, when Luke finds out the truth, he won't love you the same way he does now. I gave you everything. How could you betray me like this? I came to you every night and you didn't get pregnant, but a random man did. We both know I'm not infertile. Then I told her I wanted to expose her to everyone. Her friends, our neighbors, our extended family, even distant relatives across the world. I wanted everyone to know what she did. She broke down even more, begging me not to do it, saying it would ruin Luke's life. She pleaded, saying she didn't want to hurt him. I told her I wouldn't expose her, not for her sake, but for Luke's. I reminded her that I was only holding back because I didn't want to destroy his future.
She insisted I was the love of her life and told me she couldn't imagine living without me. She promised to wait for me to calm down, fight for our family, and even agreed to take as many paternity tests as I needed to prove her commitment. She kissed me desperately, trying to make me stay. I pushed her away, telling her she was being delusional. I said, You're acting like you scratched my car or broke a window. This isn't something you can just fix. You betrayed your partner and your own child. Before I left, I shouted at her sister Sophie to get Charlotte professional help because it was clear she wasn't thinking rationally. I walked out, wanting her to feel even a fraction of the pain I was enduring. After I got back, I sent Charlotte a message, telling her I would visit for our son, Ethan, but only for him, not for her. I told her not to make things worse and focus on being a good mother. I'm now staying with my sister Maya, who has been an incredible support. She hugs me until I calm down, no matter how long it takes. I'll be starting the divorce process soon. I know I'll likely have to pay child support since I've been this child's father for 5 years, but even if I don't, I feel a moral obligation to be part of his life. As for my wife and her sister, they're awful. Maybe it runs in the family. I'll do what's best for Ethan, but I'm done with both of them. Update 2. It's been a month since I discovered that Ethan isn't biologically mine. I've been seeking therapy to help me process everything. Despite the betrayal, I still love Ethan deeply. I always have, and I always will. He may not be my biological son, but he's my child in every way that matters. In my anger, I said some terrible things to Charlotte, things I regret now, but her betrayal hurt more than anything I've ever experienced. As for Sophie, she absolutely deserved everything I said to her. After learning the truth, she treated me horribly, called me weak, and added insult to injury. Through therapy, I've realized that holding on to anger isn't helping anyone, so I've made an effort to make peace with everyone involved, especially for Ethan's sake. I even sat down with Sophie, and while we apologized to each other, we both agreed we'd probably never like one another, and that's fine. I visit my old home regularly to spend time with Ethan. Charlotte, Sophie, and Ethan still live there, while I'm staying elsewhere. I'm tolerating this situation because Ethan needs me. I've decided to go through with the divorce, but I'm committed to staying in Ethan's life because I'm the only father he's ever known. However, I'm still unsure about how or when to tell him the truth about his parentage. He's so young, and it's a delicate situation. Every time I visit, Charlotte hugs me. I've stopped trying to push her away because it never worked. Now I just let her hug me and vent. She constantly apologizes, saying how sorry she is and how much she wants me back. I always tell her the same thing. I'm only here for Ethan. Thankfully, she doesn't break down in front of him. 3 days ago, when I visited Ethan, he ran to me as usual, excited and full of energy. I adore him. He lights up my day every time I see him. But while he was out of the room, I told Charlotte that I've hired a lawyer to start the divorce proceedings. She completely freaked out. She begged me not to tear our family apart, saying that even if Ethan doesn't share my DNA, he's still my son, and she's still my wife.
He's still my son, and she's still my wife. She said we could make it work and be happy, that she'd give me as many children as I wanted if I just gave her another chance. I left after letting her vent. I'm still angry at her and Sophie, but therapy has helped me control my emotions better. However, her family keeps calling me, pressuring me to forgive Charlotte and take her back. They insist she'll be a good wife going forward and that I should step up as a husband. When I refused, they threw something at me that shook me. They said I might lose the ability to see Ethan. That terrified me. I love him so much, and he loves me back. I'm the only father he's ever known. But what if they use this situation against me? What if they twist things around to keep me from him? I'm scared, not for myself, but for Ethan's mental health. I fear they might use him against me in this situation, and I don't want him to suffer. Now I'm questioning myself. Would I be the one at fault if I stayed with my wife for our son's sake? Not because I love her or forgive her, but to ensure I stay in his life and protect him from being caught in the crossfire? Final update. Not going to lie, the past few months have been extremely difficult. There were times when I just wanted to escape from everything, even wanted to walk away from Ethan, even though he isn't biologically mine. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I didn't want him to suffer because of the choices his mother made, so I made an effort to stay involved. Since then, I've been visiting him often. I moved out of the house, but I kept showing up for him. Each visit, though, came with its challenges. Charlotte would constantly try to convince me to stay, and her sister, Sophie, who has been an absolute nightmare, didn't make things any easier. But I tolerated it all for Ethan. This Christmas, after spending the day with Ethan, Charlotte, Sophie, and her family, they decided to sit me down for a serious talk. They said they wanted me to reconcile with Charlotte and not give up on our family.